Second.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Alrighty. Yeah, I can hear you perfect. How you doing, Ben?
To be honest, I've come down with a little bit of a cold. I don't know if you ever heard of a healing crisis.
A healing crisis. Okay, yeah. So what have you been? Been stubborn fast?
It could potentially be something similar to your ashwagandha situation, where you took a few too many and kind of sent the body into detox mode. So I take ancestral supplements. Don't know if you've heard of them. So
I've seen them on your stories, but I don't really know what they're in.
They're like organs. They're like desiccated organs of animals that are really high in nutrients. So, and I was even reading on their website about it. They don't recommend you just straight take loads off the bat, because the body literally goes into like, wow, what have we got all these new resources? Let's use them. Let's start detoxing. Let's start doing this, and it sends your body into healing mode, where sometimes things get worse before they get better. So it's my own mistake. So I feel fine. It's not like it's nothing that's like, I'm not lying in bed dead. I just got a little sniffle. That's all. So I'm still here to do this podcast. It's very important.
Yeah, you're a strong lad. You'll be fine. So
exactly.
So from the list, it was dangers of red flags. What we have to cover. It's why there's so much degeneracy, and then how to be a righteous man.
Yeah.
So from where we left off with red flags, I was talking a little bit about just an introduction of what are red flags. So for anybody who hasn't seen part one, then go on Ben's channel and watch the first one. So the dangerous thing about red flags is most men and women, they're not educated to screen out certain personality traits that people have, certain things about their family history or the way they behave, that if you actually look into it, will actually disqualify them as someone you can have a long-term relationship with. Because when you meet someone new, when the average guy, talking about men in this case, he's not going to have his lust in check. He's not going to get to a very detailed description of what he wants from a woman. So he meets a girl, he's into her, he finds her attractive, he's sold. And men of value are never going to be sold just on a woman's beauty, because they understand that there's plenty of beautiful women. And the outer shell isn't always a reflection of what's in here. And this is why you want to ask quality questions. You want to know about her family, her friends, who she is, what her opinions on politics are, religion. You want to make sure that you're on the same wavelength, that you are truly compatible, belief system, everything. If not, you're not going to be able to bond deeply. So when it comes to red flags, you have to get rid of certain women. So I'd be here for a long time, so I'm going to keep it very short. So,
I know we've got time. We've got time.
We've got time.
If you give a brief, bullet points of like the overall red flag, and then go into a few that you think are important.
You look at red flags online, there could be a list of 1,000. So what I tend to cover is the big ones, and they encompass everything else within, because they trickle down into little ones, which are minor red flags, but they're still part of the big ones. So the first thing I would definitely say is most, if not nearly all, the red flags that you will ever see are going to come from the childhood, from issues or unhealed problems, either from childhood or from previous relationships. They can't bond with you because they're still attached to someone else. So this is why I'd start off by saying women that come from broken homes. This is including daddy issues, mummy issues. It could be anything. It could be witnessing mum and dad going through a divorce. Mum and dad cheat on each other. The father's absent, weak, or abusive. The mother's a narcissist or has got BPD, and they grow up seeing a parent with mental illness. Now, when a child, or in this case a woman, she grows up in that context, she can't develop her femininity because there's a constant state of instability, fighting, uncertainty. This creates fear. And children don't have coping mechanisms. They don't have enough social skills, enough awareness to know how to handle things because they're children. So most kids, when bad things happen, if they don't have a parent to guide them and teach them, they think it's all their fault. And they internalize all of this, which translates to damaged sense of self, split personality, not developing morals, being misled, bad communicator. Some children will split and be codependent, overly needy, insecure, and others may become hyper independent. They don't want to be with anyone. And unfortunately, some can develop narcissism, high levels of narcissism. This is why when you meet a woman and you say, tell me a little bit about your parents. Do you get along with them? Do you love your mum and dad? If she tells you, I hate my parents, I don't want to talk about it, it's none of your business, or anything of that nature where she doesn't want to talk about it, that would be an indication that something is wrong. Whereas if she tells you, absolutely, I love my mum, I love my dad, and she goes into detail, that's a green flag. But if she also says to you, listen, I came from a dysfunctional, broken home, but I developed myself, I had coaches and mentors, and I healed, or I'm in the process of, then that's a good sign. Because that means she's actually aware she's overcome it. So that would be the first thing. I'd say women that grow up in broken homes. And that can trickle down into, we could get into women that are feminists, modern women. That's an obvious red flag. Women that have this mindset where men and women are the same, these are going to be the type of women that are never going to look up and admire you, respect you. Yet they will still expect you to be a traditional man, protect her, lead and provide for her, or she doesn't put out anything in return. These are the types of women that end up settling, become wives or mothers, because it's not really what they desire, because they subscribe to the feminist ideology that they're oppressed if they had the desire to be a family-oriented or a housewife type of woman. So they believe they've got to be just like men. So in the process, they destroy and turn away from their own femininity. So they are women that are broken, that are turned into inferior versions of men, so to speak. Yeah, because so these women come with all these problems, whether it's emotional, mental, you don't know what's happened to them, whether they were misled because they grew up in a broken home, or they simply got carried away by bad friends that influenced them. But feminists, that's an instant red flag. And even if she says, well, it doesn't matter, it's just not worth it, because there's girls out there that know it's wrong and they don't get involved, because that's already in someone's mind. That's their input. It's in them. So their output is going to be everything feminism teaches. Another thing would be women that hang around with other bad women. See, you can learn a lot from who someone hangs around with. Bad company corrupts good morals. Because the reality is we choose to hang around people that are like us. Now, if she does have a few acquaintances, somebody she knows that she's not close to, but whether it's from work, from school, and she has to deal with, that's a different thing. But if she's actively close to women that you know, or either from getting to know them or from what you've heard, are the types of girls that cause drama. They are untrustworthy. They cheat on their boyfriends. They get involved with drugs or the substance abuse. They are the type of girls that are also feminists. It could be women that are hyper promiscuous, narcissistic, catty, rude, anything of that nature. This is a very simple method to disqualify the wrong type of woman early on. If you spot that and she turns around and says to you, but I'm not like that, or I'm not like that anymore, you got to ask yourself, why does she have them in her life? Because if she truly wasn't like them, she wouldn't be close to them, because it's only common sense that we associate people by who they hang around with. So women that are feminine, women that are traditional will associate themselves with other like-minded women. The same way men that are masculine tend to build friendships with other men that are masculine to grow. So that's one that's very important. You want to look at the quality of your friends, because it reveals a lot about a character. And then guys get misled. Oh, well, I didn't know she was like that. Well, look at her friends. That can tell you a lot. Another one would be, and this, a lot of guys, some men disagree with this because they're so lustful, they think there's nothing wrong with it. But women that are into a lot of plastic surgery, this tells you a lot about insecurities. Very, very, very deep about insecurities. Because when someone is insecure, they don't love themselves. If they don't love themselves, they can never love you. Now, the thing with plastic surgery, the thing with cosmetic surgery, if somebody's had an accident, maybe they've had a horrible illness that took part of their face off or something, they're born with a cleft lip, palate, or something's wrong with them, and they need surgery to modify them so that they can live healthily, that's a different story. If you're a burn victim, you had a horrible car accident, you got mauled by a dog, and you get your face put back to how it once was, that's also a different story. But a woman that's healthy, everything works in her body, she can walk, she's not paralyzed, everything's functioning normally, and she decides, I need a boob job, I need a nose job, I need lip injection, all of these different types of body modifications that they have nowadays. That's very dangerous, because some women will never tell you. I mean, you've heard stories of like a guy who marries the type of woman and she's completely done up, and the kids come out and he's thinking, they don't look like me, they don't look like you. And then she tells them the truth, right? Not that that happens to everyone, but some guys think it's cool if she gets, breast implants because they get to reap the rewards, when that can actually cause lots of problems to the body later on. But it's not just the body, it reveals what's going on inside. There's things there that you're not responsible to fix. Even if you try and accept or love that woman, it's just not going to be worth it, because she's not, sure as hell isn't doing it for you. She's doing it for herself, or the perceived attention she would get by society if, with all these new changes now, it's validation. Remember, insecure women want validation, whereas women that are secure just want your presence from their loved ones. So, and that's really something to watch out for. Another huge red flag, I would say, would be women that are promiscuous. Now, there's a difference between someone who they've had a few sexual partners because they were young, they made a few mistakes, they realize it's wrong, they took the time to heal. Because getting to know someone, going on a few dates and getting intimate, that really doesn't make someone promiscuous. What makes someone promiscuous is giving their bodies to strangers continuously, consistently, and people they don't know. And they're in and out, because that can destroy one's ability to pair bond. Now, there's different reasons, because again, it all comes back from childhood trauma. Most women that become promiscuous have issues related to an abusive, weak, or absent father. They don't have a healthy blueprint of what to look for in a man. So what happens is, to get validation, because they never had proper esteem built up from their childhood, they will look for men to try and satisfy that need. And what happens is they get trapped. They do it again and again and again. And they give so many parts of themselves to different men that then they stop caring. They lose their purity, and it hurts them. It damages them as well. But because they don't know any better, they keep doing it, like a dog going back to its vomit. And it gets worse and worse. So another reason why some women become promiscuous is they may have had a boyfriend for a long time. Perhaps he betrayed her. She develops trust issues, and for whatever reasons, stops caring. So she loses her morality, loses her moral code, and starts to sleep around. And I see this as well with lots of guys that they have a relationship, they become bitter and hateful, think, oh, they're all the same, and then they stop caring. And then it spirals out of control.
It's like a self-destructive thing as well.
It is. And this is why you got to be so careful, because, guys, a woman, her body's designed to give birth. So most men, even, it's horrible to say, but a guy can smash a woman and he can dip right to Argentina and he's never going to see his kids again.
Yep.
A woman really can't do that. So intelligent women understand that when they engage in sex, they're responsible if they get pregnant. It's up to them, because if she doesn't want to sleep with that guy, she doesn't have to, unless she's forced or being, it's rare. It's rare for that to happen anyway. So intelligent women are aware of the risk of potentially getting involved with the wrong man, which is why intelligent women are going to test you when they first meet you for dependency, for security, for trustworthiness. If I were to get pregnant or continue with this guy, would he be a good father to my kids? This is why intelligent women will wait a little bit, or at the very least build an emotional connection. If a woman is going to sleep with you and she doesn't know who you are, who's to say she hasn't done it or isn't going to do it with other men she also doesn't know? Because sex is soul binding. It's not just, was it created to build life, create life itself, but it's also created to be enjoyed within the context of two people that love each other, but they're meant to be joined together for the sake of those children having a healthy blueprint of seeing their parents together. So when people have sex and they split and they keep breaking it apart, in and out, eventually serotonin, the dopamine, all of those chemical receptors in your brain, the neurons, they start to become disconnected, because it thinks, well, every time she's sleeping with someone, she leaves. So we don't need to release the hormones for bonding anymore. There's just no point. Now, yes, can someone heal from that? They can. And it's going to take a lot of therapy, because it's very interesting to see. But with women and with men that become promiscuous, there's almost like a link there with mood disorders, personality disorders, and not just STDs, but it affects them almost spiritually, because you give a part of yourself to someone that you really can't get back. And all the contraceptives in the world can't save you. The best way to protect yourself is to be very careful of who you give yourself to. And this is why women that are either chaste or they have enough modesty to where they're very careful of who they give themselves to. And they tell you this. They openly tell you when they first meet you, their low body count. They proudly tell you that, yeah, I don't stay proud. That's a good sign. So if you're not sure what she's like, you can ask, tell me a little bit about your past. I want to know. Because a lot of guys think, well, if I ask that, that's insecure. No, it's not. It's not. If you really are going to spend your life with a woman, that means you're investing everything, your energy, your finances, your seed, everything. So don't you deserve to know everything to the T? So you ask her, tell me a little bit about your past. If she turns around and says to you, that's none of your business, I don't want to talk about it, it's not important, you don't need to know that, she's telling you by omission. You already know what it is. Now, on the flip side, there are some women that for some strange reason, they wear it with a badge of honor. They just simply don't care. And they will tell you, which makes it easier for you to disqualify. So it's little things like that, but it's something you definitely want to pay attention to. But when men are lustful and they think, oh, she's sleeping with me right away, it's because I'm an alpha male. No, it's not. Because if she's sleeping with you so quickly, she's doing it with everyone. And a lot of men assign their value as a man to how many women they sleep with. But what they fail to understand is those women that are easy to get, it's because they're easy to lose. It's because everybody can have them. That's not special. But a woman that's everybody quote unquote wants, but she's very hard to attain because she doesn't give her body up, that woman has more value. You think back in the day, now we have paternity tests, which, I mean, if you feel like you want to take one, it's because you already don't trust the woman you're with, which is a bad sign, right? But you go back in the day, was there any way to have a paternity test? No. The only way was if that woman hadn't been with any men, which is almost why subconsciously most men would prefer if their woman hasn't really been around the block, because it means that she's more trustworthy with your seed. If you have kids with her, there's a high chance that it's yours. Because one of the most shameful things is to figure out, hey, I've been raising this kid for 3 years and it's not mine. That's soul destroying for a man. Because it's just not yours, isn't it? So these things are very important to understand. If you're watching this and you think, oh, I'm really cool because I sleep around with all these girls, ask yourself what quality, what are they offering you? Because any woman in the world has a vagina. What, is she going to make a good wife and a good mother? If that was your daughter sleeping around with different men, it would be a dishonor, be a stain on your family name. I think any guy with any intelligence knows that. So it's like going to a rubbish bin, picking up a half-eaten apple and taking a bite. Sure, you're still eating, there's some nutrient left, but it's covered in flies and it smells. So there's no value in that. Promiscuous woman, it's an easy disqualifier. But I have to say it because there's some guys that won't get that.
And a quote that I like is, I was just looking for it on my phone. A lock that can be opened by many keys is a bad lock, but a key that can be opened by many locks is a master key. So it's the dynamic between men and women. You know, men, obviously, the more you sleep with, the assumption is that is more praised because it's more difficult to do. Whereas a woman, all they really have to do is open themselves up to anyone, which is easy to do, you know. Everyone's trying to open their lock. So if they let people in like that, it's not hard. You see what I mean? So, but that is a misconception of men, is that if you sleep on the first day, which a lot of like the pickup industry has encouraged, that idea of if you sleep on the first day, you're an alpha. But the reality of it is, although that may be true to a degree, the reason that is simply because the culture is so degenerate that it's now both sides.
And we're going to get
into
that.
Been tricked. Yeah, both sides have been tricked into thinking that they're doing the right thing, whereas in actuality, both parties are in the wrong.
Exactly. It's to create more division amongst men and women. Another thing I will say would be attention seekers. Now, within attention-seeking women, because it's a big red flag, this is going to go without saying, the women that have boyfriends but are interacting with you as a friend, guys that try and go for a girl and she only wants friendship and you stay there. Look, if a woman's interested in you, she's going to make it very clear that she wants to get to know you. The thing about attention seekers is this also comes back from growing up in a screwed up background. They only care about validation, which means you're not the only one. There could be 10, 15 other simps that she has that she just uses. One guy to call when she's upset, one guy to take her out for food, but these women have no intention of committing to you. And when you look at attention seekers, we have this idea in society, at least from social media, what a lot of people see is they will see a beautiful woman post like a half-naked picture and think, oh my gosh, she's so confident. And it's like, unless you're a fitness model, it's your coaching business, you're not doing it to help people. If you're just the average person and you want to post half-naked pics, you're not doing it because you're confident. You're doing it because your self-esteem is so low, you want other people to notice you. Do you think somebody who's very wealthy needs to post a picture, generally speaking, or somebody wealthy with confidence, do they need to post a picture of all their beachfront properties, all their investments? No, because they don't want anybody in their personal life. They are secure in themselves to know, I'm wealthy, I don't need to show it off. So in the context of a woman, she's not a model, she's not a fitness instructor. That's not what she does. She's just a girl you're courting, your girl you're dating, you're getting to know. And she posts half-naked pics. That reveals a lot about her character. And it doesn't even necessarily mean it's just getting attention from men. It can be to compete with other women because she's so insecure. She needs to look constantly, am I better than her? And that's someone that's very broken. Their esteem is very, very low. And even if an attention seeker, you build a connection with her, what will happen is over time, you end up building a bond and she stays here. There's no attachment from her end because she's never into you in the first place. Which means the man is going to get tricked. Oh, she wants a relationship. And the thing with attention seekers is because they're never really into you for you, they come and go as they please. They disappear. They do things that are inconsistent. And a lot of guys get frustrated with that, which is why if you meet a girl and she's got all these male friends in the background and she has no female friends, you're wasting your time. If you're trying to date her, but then every 5 minutes she's taking a selfie and it's just every 5 minutes on Instagram, on Facebook, Snapchat, whatever platform on social media, just all the time. Understand, you're nothing but an object to that woman because she can't bond with you healthily. She didn't get enough attention as a child. So now she's seeking it through every outlet and every venue possible. And she's using her looks as a way to promote that. It's not worth it because women like that are immature. They're not ready to be good mothers or good wives. It's just not worth it. Another thing, the next big red flag would be gold diggers and users. Okay. Women that grow up in homes where extreme poverty, where the father wasn't there, never provided. Maybe she saw the mother have to, date different boyfriends, and then they come and go, and there's never any food on the table, or there's no clothing, there's no safety, there's no real protection, a sense of a family. Unfortunately, a lot of these women, their hearts become very dark. They almost put like a masculine mask on, in a way, to survive in the world. Okay, when you see this with women that grew up in very poor neighborhoods, women that come from, Eastern Europe, countries that used to be in communism, or even women from third world countries, they try and marry guys to come to the West. And those guys think, oh, I'll go for those women because they're more feminine than the ones here. And then she cheats on him with the gardener, and he can't figure out why. Gold diggers don't care about you. They don't care about getting to know you on a deep, intimate level. Gold diggers are going to rush intimacy. They are going to use a bit of love bombing, because there is a level of narcissism to gold diggers, because their empathy is almost broken down, but they're not full on the narcissism spectrum. And gold diggers, all they're going to do is take, and it's going to be very easy to see. So if you have a woman and you meet her, you've gone on a few dates, and she's rushing the intimacy, it's not that she actually takes the time to ask quality questions about you. She only wants to know about your financial status. She wants to know, what car you drive, where you live, what you do, but there's never any questions about what you believe in, what's important to you, what are you passionate about. She doesn't actually want to get to know your heart. All she cares about is what's superficial. These are going to be the type of girls that you have an argument, and then she expects you to buy something.
Right.
In other words, she doesn't think you're the prize. She thinks what you have temporarily is a prize. And guys that are mentally cucked, or that have just never really been dating a beautiful woman, if they become successful, they think, oh, I'm going to use my status, I'm going to use my fame or my wealth to get a girl into me. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because when a woman's into you, that's based on physicality. She finds you sexually attractive. Now, the fact that you're successful and have your life together is a bonus once she's emotionally bonded to you, because then she knows, all right, if I am to consider something long term, this guy's unlike a gold digger who thinks, oh, I could use him. A genuine girl with a good heart is going to think, wow, I'm actually quite impressed and proud of him. He's done very well for himself. And she will respect and honor that, because she will be submissive and giving in return. That's the difference. Gold diggers don't. And you can figure this out on like the first day or two. You go to pay. On the first day, I think it's best as a man, you pay. If you invite her out, you pay. But when you go to pay, observe what she does. Because at the end of the day, she's not your girlfriend. She's not your wife. So therefore, there's no ring on her finger. You don't deserve to give her 100% of your provision. She hasn't earned that, right? What is a gold digger going to do? She's going to fold her arms. You know why? Because she feels entitled. Whereas a good woman, she will say, no, let me at least get the drinks. Let me pay. There you know. Those are little ways just early on. But for any guy who stayed long term with a gold digger, their souls get completely drained. And the reason why those women rush intimacy is because they will happily lock you down with kids so they can get the child support. And it's really not worth it. Again, you've got to protect yourself. You've got to protect your seed. But you definitely want to avoid gold diggers, because they're not good women. And just because, even though she's pretty and you think, oh, she's just wonderful, what's in here is just an empty shell. She's greedy. It's sad, but those women are not worth it. Maybe with therapy, you want to stay away from them. Another thing I would definitely say is avoid girls that are, quote unquote, well, you could say party girls, but I would define it as girls that are addicted to substance abuse and alcohol, have those problems. Not necessarily too much of the partying, because everybody's partied when they're young. I've done it. It's not much of a big deal. But the women that are so locked into that lifestyle that they get addicted to alcohol, they can't put down the drink, cocaine, other hard drugs that are going to rot their brains and ruin everything, their bodies too. Unfortunately, these types of women, they definitely have a few issues that come from their childhood. It doesn't necessarily mean it's all from a bad home. Again, she could be led astray by bad friends, bad female friends. She gets involved with the wrong crowd, and one thing leads to another. It could be been involved with a few bad men that just push her to stop caring. It can be women that have problems with mental health and they use it as a coping mechanism because they don't know any better. But it's just common sense. A woman that's getting drunk every weekend, she going to take care of your kids? That girl who's doing a line of coke every Friday, and then she's just ruined. Is she going to take care of the home? Do you trust her? I mean, that's somebody that's incapable of having a relationship because mentally and emotionally they're broken. They have problems in their life that they don't know how to face, whether they don't have the tools or they don't have the emotional resources available, but they need help. Now, it's a different story if you meet a girl and she says, 5 years ago, I used to be, addicted to the drink and I quit. That's a different story. She's overcome it. But if you meet a girl right now and she's got these problems, guess what? Whoever you allow into your life, their problems become your problems. Their happiness becomes your happiness. So you want to date a woman that's doing drugs, doing that? She's addicted. She's got all these problems from substance abuse. You can go right ahead, but that's not going to end well for you. Women like that are unstable, it's not worth it. Another thing will be extreme mental health disorders. I'm not talking about a little bit of anxiety or she's sad because a dog died and she's going to be upset for the next few months. And this is unfortunate. Again, some people have this, it's horrible, but a woman that's got borderline personality disorder, she's a schizophrenic, she's bipolar, or she's got a personality or mood disorder that makes her mentally unstable. This is a problem because she's not just a danger to herself, but to you as well. She could be suicidal. She could lash out. She's not safe to be around because, she could pick up a knife, or maybe she's done self-harm. She could become abusive in other ways. And as she mentally and emotionally deteriorates, it's going to get worse. I had a video about this on my channel a while ago. This guy, it was like monkey branching, unstable, and he dated this girl and she had all of those problems. And even he started to get panic attacks. His health started to decline because he started to give more, but you're dealing with someone that's mentally ill. They have nothing to give you. They need help. And she was in and out of like mental asylum and she was cheating on him. It was all of these problems. And a lot of guys want to rescue these women, these broken women. It's unfortunate. It's not your responsibility. Now, it's a different story if you've been you've been married to a girl for 7 years and your wife develops Alzheimer's. That's a different thing. Or she develops a problem. You've made the ultimate commitment. That's a different thing. But if you're single and you want to build up a family, you want to have a legacy, you got to choose a woman that at least is normal like you. It goes without saying, but unfortunately, some guys, they don't know that because they've got such low standards. She's pretty, but she's like got all these problems. They still want to date her, right? It's like, oh, I can save her, I can fix her. That's what codependent men want. It's not worth it. And I'm sure you must have heard some cases of people that get involved with that. So that's women that have mental health problems. Now, another red flag is she isn't over her ex. In other words, her heart and her mind are still with her previous relationship. Now, men and women that have, I'd say mature, what happens? You have a relationship, doesn't work. Either you dump her or she dumps you. You take your time to heal. You recover, you rebuild your life, you reconnect with your friends and family, you get back on your grind, going back to the gym, you start working back on your job, or you start that side hustle, whatever happens to be, you start new hobbies, but you get back to a place where you're happy. You need time to heal and grieve. That's normal. Now, women that are immature or have other problems, whether it's mental health issues, women that childhood trauma, you don't know what it is. But women that have problems that they don't know how to deal with, they're going to be more the type to break up with a guy and then rebound. This means if you're ready, willing, able to date, You also need a woman who has that same attitude, that same mindset. There's no ex in the background. So if you meet a girl and she tells you that she's not over her ex, or she's always talking about him, or she's still keeping in contact with him, or he's always reaching out to her, but she doesn't get rid of him, or you know that recently they broke up, but she tells you it's okay, and you know they've been together for quite a few years, that's a problem. Don't deceive yourself. It's just not worth it, because her heart and her mind is still with him. What happens is when a woman isn't over her ex, she's not looking to date you because she actually wants to date you. She's looking to date you to get over him. Now, what happens? That type of woman is going to lower her standards. So if he was like a 9 and the guy watching this is a 6, she might think, oh, he's not really what I want, but you know what, since I can't get over Max, I'm going to date him. And what happens? You think, oh, I've got this beautiful woman, she's into me. Again, your feelings start growing. You start falling in love. And what happens to her? She's right down here. Because you know what she's thinking about? She's thinking about him. Maybe after a month of a cool down, they get back together. You don't know. But what's going to happen is you're going to see the same thing, inconsistency. She's going to be hot and cold. There's going to be all these ups and downs, highs and lows, and you're not going to understand where it's coming from. You know, you might want to be intimate and then she just pulls back. This is because her heart and her feelings, they're not for you. They're still with the other guy. They're still, because with an imprint, being emotionally tied, you can only be tied to one person at a time. So if she's still with that guy, even though she's here with you physically, emotionally, mentally, she's with him. You can't compete. You can't compete. If you're new and you're fresh, but she has history with someone else and she's not over that, there's no competition. That's what she will choose every time. Even if it's not good for her. Even if she, you know, a lot of people, they go back together a few times before they actually split. That does happen. But a lot of guys, they're on the receiving end because they think, oh, well, you know, they broke up a week ago. They've only been together for 5 years, but I'm sure she's over him. And you deceive yourself. Because what happens is, in the case that she doesn't get back with the ex, what's going to happen? Time goes on. You're already invested. I mean, you're all in. And what's happened to her? She comes out of that slumber and goes, oh no, he's not what I want. He's not that attractive. We have nothing in common. And then she feels guilty because she knows she's settled for you. She knows you were a rebound. So do you know what happened? Then she leaves. And oftentimes they ghost you without giving you any closure because they're too embarrassed. Is that worth it? I don't think so. Another red flag, one of the last ones, I would say, would be women that are taken, whether it's boyfriend or a husband. You have to be a complete moron to believe, whether it's a girl you meet at the gym, whether it's at a venue, whether it's at work, whether it's through friends, whether it's at uni, I don't care what the situation is. You meet a girl, it could be online, it doesn't matter. If she tells you things aren't going well with him, I'm just not happy, what do you think that means for you? So she's not happy with him. When the moment her needs aren't met, she's going to do the same thing to you. Because honorable men and women, if we're unhappy, if things aren't going well in our relationship, we communicate. And if it doesn't work after a few times, you walk away, again, you heal. And then when you're ready, then you date. That's what most normal people do. And again, more than likely, if she's doing that, she's going to come with more problems. Because if things aren't going well with a husband or a boyfriend, why isn't she addressing that personally to him? Why is she telling you? Because even if you per se don't get involved with that girl, she will find some other sucker who will. Now, there are some exceptions where you might get involved with a girl and you will have no idea that she's got a boyfriend or a husband until he comes to kill you. That does happen, right? In some cases, some guys don't know because the girl doesn't say. But generally speaking, when that woman wants to play the sympathy card, she will tell the guy, listen, I got a boyfriend, things aren't working out, I'm planning on dumping him. She's building a connection with you while she's still with him. Now, maybe that guy's abusive. Maybe he's not right for her. Maybe he's scum. It doesn't change the fact that she shouldn't be building a connection with you because it's never going to be fully formed. Because even emotional wounds and pain and the memories are still going to be very fresh with the soon-to-be ex. So there's never going to be a proper healthy
Transition.
bond formation with. It's never going to, exactly. So she's going to monkey branch to you, which means your relationship is built on a foundation of lies, deception, and infidelity. And if you partake in that woman's betrayal from her current boyfriend, you have absolutely no right to complain when she does it to you.
Yep.
Because you destroy your own character in the process. So it goes without saying, you shouldn't.
And
it's just not worth it. You meet a girl at work, and any situation, she tells you the same. You say, look, I hope you work out with your boyfriend or your husband. If not, I recommend you dump him. And then you walk away. At least you did God's work by telling her the truth, and you walk away. Just don't get involved. Again, it happens to lots of guys. I've had quite a few emails. It happens. And this is why when men, they're operating on lust, they will take a woman like that. So, I mean, we could move on to the next one, or we could, because there's so many more.
We'll move on. But the one thing
I would also add just slightly. There's, you could add to the list narcissistic women. Okay, goes without saying. Narcissistic women, and I would also probably add women that are immodest. There's more, but I know we can't get too much into that.
I mean, I'll just add as well, like, to what you just said about if you're a guy dating a girl who has a boyfriend. I think, I would assume that the trap that a lot of men fall into is, oh, look at me, like I'm beat. You know what I mean? I'm so good that she's choosing her boyfriend, who she's really committed to, over, and it's almost like boosting their ego, making them think as if they're so special that someone would literally leave a relationship for them, and do you know what I mean? And it's like ego boost. So it's kind of like that's what I would assume. I mean, I wouldn't know because I've never indulged in that myself, but
neither have I.
But I mean, like you said, it says a lot about your character if that's what you're.
So again, guys, the whole point with red flags is you're responsible. What I say always on my channel is you're responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. And reality is always going to be harsh and unbiased. If you put yourself in a position where you get involved, or worse, you move in, have kids, get married, or just cohabitate with a woman that's wrong for you, you run the risk of developing trust issues, taking years of healing. You could have kids, so you could become a single dad. Do you want that to happen? I don't think so. You could be, splitting assets after a divorce. You could be dealing with a narcissistic or abusive ex that's coming after you and attempts to ruin your life. And there's all these problems that come with it. It's not worth experimenting with the one life you have, trying to test. It's just, don't do it. Set your principles. These are red flags. I'm going to avoid such women, and I'm going to save myself a world of pain. So the next thing you wanted to discuss was, why is everything so degenerate? So because I've been talking for now, I will give you my thoughts.
All I'll say is, I want to
hear your take on it.
Oh, my take. All right, cool. Well, I'll just say we'll do like 15 minutes on the last two topics each. Try not to. I don't want it to be too long. But why is the world so generic? Well, I'd say it's really is it's the powers that be that, if you really want to go deep into it, this world is run by Satan. This world is run by evil. Like, the physical realm is under the control of evil, and they have every single resource and power in their hands, at their disposal, to corrupt the minds of the young, especially, mainly this generation, are getting completely and utterly bombarded with hypersexualized things, backwards ideas. Everything is just moving in a direction of degeneracy, and everything's flipped on its head. To be, what was in the 70s, 80s, or whatever, to be rebellious or to be free, so to say, was to be sexually free and to be liberated and to have sex with everyone. But in actuality, it's the complete wrong mentality. If you're a slave. You're now a slave to your sexual desires. You're now a slave to this culture. Whereas nowadays, to be a rebel is to start a family. It's so uncommon. When I was in school, I'd ask I'd be like to my classmates, "Oh, are your mum and dad together?" I'd say about a third of the room had parents that were together. And for me, it was so mind blowing. I was like, I thought everyone's parents were together. I was like, what's going on? Like, and it's funny because those people that said their parents weren't together, I look at them now, see what they're up to, and obviously that's had some sort of form of effect on them later in their life. But the reason the world is so degenerate is exactly what I said. It's just that the world wants to destroy, or people, there are, I wouldn't even say people, but there are powers that have the power to literally destroy us and to destroy God and to destroy the family, because that is the most powerful, especially men. Men are the center of the family, and without men, there can be no families. And they first attack the men, and then they attack the women, and now it's the kids, and it's just like everything's just been destroyed. And that's why masculinity is so important, because that's how we're going to bring these families back. Because the men are the only ones that hold the power, or the men are what control this world. This world was built by men, whether women like it or not. Go look at those buildings. Go look at everything that's been created in the history of mankind. Men have done that. Men have built.
Yeah, I don't see any women going off to fight to Ukraine anytime soon.
Yeah, but that is no. But then women don't recognize their gift. Men are gifted in strength, intelligence, logic, things like that. That's how a gift from God. Women are gifted with the ability to nurture, to heal, to have feminine essence, to bear a child. A man could create the most incredible skyscraper you've ever seen, but no man, no matter how hard he tries, could ever create the most beautiful thing, which is a child, and a family. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of what I think about it. But yeah, the reason the world is so degenerate is simply the fact that there is an evil force that is in control and is working and being very successful in destroying everything that is good in this world. So yeah, that's my take. You can share what
I will add on that, because I agree with everything you've said. What I will add to that is what they're trying to do is attack what we call traditional family values and traditional gender roles. Now, these are things that we've had for a millennia, not because it's hateful and evil and it's bigoted. It's because it works, because it's natural, because it follows the laws that God has laid out in the world. It works. Okay, it's how things were designed to be. For man to be the head of the house and woman to be the heart of the home. Pretty simple stuff. So when we have a culture today that tells us that monogamy, having a family, rearing children, modesty, chastity, purity, these things are outdated and old-fashioned, they're going to try and say that that's what it is. But yet at the same time, look at the foundation they're building. It's not founded on any moral pillars at all. It's just based on emotions and lust and sexual desire, which is what you were saying. So when you have that happen in a society, it's not going to affect you or me, but it's the next generation that are growing up that are already coming from split homes. So what happens is you go to the media, they go to social media, they go to news, they go to public institutions, and all of this is giving us an image, movies, TV shows, that men are weak, men are insecure, men are abusive, men are bullies, men are cowards. But then they all portray women as strong, dominant, Mrs. Independent, I don't need no man. And then children as intelligent, superior to the parents, can tell them what to do. So it creates a whole mess. And the thing is, family values, the reason why it's so important is it gives people an identity in the family, which means as a man, he marries a woman, he now has to learn how to be a father and a husband. He takes on a new responsibility, a new challenge. He has to protect and provide for that family. He's got to make sure he's on his A game to impart wisdom for his children and make sure he's got his life in order so he can make sure his woman is safe and provided for. That's what he learns to do, and to forsake all women for his wife, to be with her. So it's discipline, it's sacrifice. Likewise, the woman, she learns by being a wife and a mother that the family comes first. It's no longer taking little bathroom selfies and all that rubbish. It's, okay, I got to know how to knit and sew and cook and clean and administer to the home. I got to find ways to properly serve my husband and provide for my children, clean clothes, everything is lovely in the home. So she needs to offer her nurturing qualities, which you were talking about, to the family. She needs to raise those children. And more importantly, the children get to grow up. And the best way to love your children is to love your wife, or for the women watching, to love your man, your boyfriend, or your husband. Because then children grow up and they get a healthy blueprint from the get-go of how to live, how to be. And not only that, but in that family, they're taught traditions, morals, love. They're given confidence, self-esteem. They get to be proud of their culture, their heritage, their nation, their race, everything. And that gives you personality, that gives you character, that gives you an identity, that makes us people who we are. And this is why people that have strong family values can never be manipulated, because all of this stuff that's being brought in is done under the guise of cultural Marxism, communism, infiltrating the family, splitting everyone apart with feminism, teaching young girls that, guess what, this is why it's so degenerate. Guess what, if you want to be a wife or a mother, you're oppressed. But if you want to work on the, work in your little office, then you're empowered. And then on the flip side, they're telling men that you should shun your strength. You should shy away from speaking up. You should be more passive, right? You should be more subservient. You should be more feminine. Get in touch with your feminine side. Yeah. And then they beat the men down and they bring the women up, and then it's confusion. And then you've got men and women divided against one another. And then you've got men and women that think, fine, I'm not going to be able to build a connection with the opposite gender, but at least I'll have sex with them. And then they ruin themselves even more. And who benefits? The state, because that's the whole point of feminism. Tax women, bring them into the workforce. And well, with women out of the workforce, we get to raise the children, the governments and the institutions, which now, me, when I come out of university, because I studied law, I can tell you, even then, they were pumping in feminism and all this rubbish like you would not believe. And obviously things I can't say on YouTube, because obviously we'd get banned, which they push, that specific agenda. And I was in complete shock. It's become a complete indoctrination center. And I really feel bad for all those kids that are going to come in the next few years, because they are really, if they're not strong enough, this is going to cause so many problems. So they bring in all of this. And what do you have? Men and women divided against one another, and then you have children that are lost. But yet they're told that do what you want. You can be whatever you want, but with no limits, with no boundaries. There's no moral hierarchy of values to hold people accountable to be good to one another. So when we have an entire culture that tells us that having a family is wrong, that wanting to be in a relationship or being married is wrong, you want to be very careful when you say that, because before you get rid of those values, ask yourself a few questions. Look at today's world. If we laugh and mock at the fact that there's men that are addicted to porn, then what's keeping people from being slaves to sex, like you were saying? If we laugh at people and we shame men and women that want to be married, then what's keeping men and women together and united? What principles are holding them together? And this is why the only cure to what we have today is to return, reapply, relearn, and reinsert traditional family values and traditional gender roles into society. And it starts with men, because if not, as you said, they attack men, because if they cut the head off, everything else is going to run wild. And it's like, like you were saying, men, we're the founders, we're the builders, we've created everything that's wonderful. And you emasculate and you weaken men, society will fall. If we destroy and undermine the family, if we get rid of society and the old values, which is what's normal, what's coming is not going to be good, because people are really going to be enslaved. But what's worse is they're going to be enslaved by their own will. They're going to want it, because they're going to be so brainwashed, they will accept whatever these tyrants impose on them. And that is so dangerous, which is why we have to hold on to the values, because the world of our parents, grandparents, and grandparents, that's what they had growing up is what works.
Yep.
And like you said, the counterculture now is to rebel and return to that. So I agree with that. So that's my take on it.
And that's the thing, is that this is a new thing, because this is something that's been implemented and infiltrated over generations, because you can't, once your ideology is set, that is almost like a lifetime thing. And they say, those developing stages in your life, that's where they're trying to get this generation, like my generation, or the younger ones. And once they've got that, then they've now in place all these new ideologies for the next so many years. But the thing is, because it's such a new thing, some of us, although we may have been put into this matrix and we have been brainwashed, some of us, for some reason, sense something's not right. We're like, nah, this isn't right. And some of us start to question things, start to think, wait, this isn't right. Like, this doesn't feel right. My heart is telling me something else. We start to dig deeper. And it's like people like me and you, I'd assume, that kind of work out what's going on. And when we clock, wait a second, we're at war here. Like, this may not be a war that's fought with guns and ammunition, but this is like a spiritual war. This is
spiritual warfare.
And that's kind of like, I think a lot of the younger generation are starting to realize what's going on. Like, and over time, the good people will start to clock what's happening, I believe. Well, as long as we spread the message, and that's kind of what I'm so passionate about. Like this, even just this podcast.
Agreed. You know, it's important because especially if you're aware of what's going on, you know, as the old saying goes, all it takes is for good men to be silenced when there's immorality, when there's bad things that are happening. If you stay silent, then you're just as bad as them. So we do have to speak up. We do have to unite and build connections and network with other like-minded people and spread the word, get people to critically think. Because, you know, you think just the amount of freedom, well, I mean, we've had freedom, but, you know, you go back just 100 years, I mean, there's things you can't even say now. There's things that you're not allowed to say because apparently it's offensive to others. That was unthinkable just 30 years ago. I mean, like, I asked my parents, and you just ask certain things. They're like, yeah, people could say this, and this. And it's like, now, what, you get a fine? You get sent to prison because you mispronounce someone without offending YouTube? What type of world is that? That's not any world I want to live in, and I disagree with that completely. But I do believe that these new values that they're trying to impose, I don't think they're there to stay. I think it's just to tear down the old and to cause, because what these people do is it's the Hegelian dialect. They cause the problems. They bring in all of this degeneracy, and then they're going to come in with a solution.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Exactly. Like, oh yeah, we're going to come in and save
order out of chaos.
Order out of chaos. So yeah, so I don't know when we'll see a new world order, but hopefully not anytime soon. So in terms of righteousness then, which is the last topic.
Yeah.
Righteousness. How does one go about being righteous?
Is that you asking me?
Well, I don't mind starting.
I mean, well, in my opinion, I would say this is more a question to you, like, because this is more my own interest. I've got to a point in my life where I think, you know, I have not made all the right decisions, but I don't blame myself because I was conditioned to think a certain way. And I realized, because it was written on my heart, that what I did was wrong. And I felt guilty. And, you know, I did the time, and I had the karmic debt, paid it off. And now I'm on a quest to put things right. So for me, it's more a case of like, we all have a moral code on our heart, you know, and obviously there are things such as religion that give us this blueprint of how we should go about our life in order to have this positive effect. Because someone's already, like you said, these traditions and the way the family works has been working for so long. Why we reinvent the wheel? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So someone's already figured it all out, but yet we've been conditioned to think religion is bad or God is stupid or blah blah blah. But when you start to understand the world, you realize if they say something's bad, it's most likely the opposite. If they say do this, do the opposite, and you'll get the right answer. So for me, I've just got to a point where I'm starting to realize, wait a second, like, I think there's something to this, like, religion thing. You know, I think there's something to this. You know, it's starting to make sense. You know, so with that, I'll just say you can take over.
Well, my name is Christian.
Yeah.
I would say I was raised Catholic, but I think when I was 18 years back, I questioned a few things. I'd never picked up a Bible. I never had. And it was about 2016, for the first time ever, I picked up a Bible and I started to look into it for myself. And I researched everything. And at least from what I've seen up to this point, I mean, I can send you, I have a lot of material saved to send to people when they do ask me. I think morality is written in our heart because we're created by God. And righteousness is the quality of being morally right and justifiable. And a lot of people say, well, if you're a Christian, you can't judge people. To which I respond, well, actually, if you read the New Testament in the Bible, it says, as a Christian, you're allowed to judge people righteously, because you're judging people from a moral standpoint. You're not judging, oh, I'm judging you because I have something against you. You know, when I'm doing a video, and I teach guys on my channel, you know, stay away from unfaithful women. That's a righteous thing, because cheating on people is wrong. It's just common sense. Okay, so righteousness, yeah, it's doing good to others, treating people how you wish to be treated. In regards to everything you're saying, with, you know, things do have a religious aspect, I agree. I'm a Christian. I'd say for the last few years, I started taking it much more seriously, which is where I get most of my knowledge from, which is from right here. I have my Bible. It's not ingrained, it's quite nice. And I always research. I'm always reading. There's so much wisdom there, because ultimately you have two choices. Either everything's made by random chance, something exploded and nothing exploded and made everything with intelligent design, apparently. And you can believe that. But if that's true, that we're made out of nothing, then there's no such thing as a moral code. That means that morality, that means that someone who walks into a school and wipes out 50 people with a shotgun has the same right to an opinion as somebody who goes to the local charity and donates money to kids that are dying of cancer. Because if there is no God, then where are you getting your morals from? If there is no creator that's designed and created everything, then where do you get your morals from? Because you go back 150, 200 years ago, slavery was a thing. The majority of people said slavery was good. Now, just because the majority do something doesn't mean it's right. And this is the thing with democracy. You can't get a majority of vote to make people moral, to make people righteous, to make people faithful and kind-hearted. See? So you have those two choices. Either you can believe that nothing exploded, made everything, then morality is up to you. That also means that you get to define what it means to be a man, which is what we're seeing today, and it's leading to lots of problems. That means you can also get to define what it means to be a woman and how people should live, which is what we're seeing today, and the fruits that tree is bearing aren't very sweet. But on the other side, if you choose to believe, which what I believe is objectively true, because a lot of people say this is my truth, your truth. No, there is the truth.
Yeah.
When it comes to things that are moral, when it comes to truth, it's black and white. It's set in stone. Gender is set in stone. It's not fluid. It's male and female. It's man and woman. It's right and wrong. It's daytime. It's nighttime. It's hot and cold. There may be a few in betweens, but those things, they're written. It's unchangeable. It's non-negotiable. So you have the other option, which is to decide, okay, if there is a creator, that means that I'm designed with meaning, with purpose, with intention. I was crafted with love and care. And that also means, well, if he's created men and women, then there's a blueprint of how men and women should be according to his will. Clearly, if he's created us, then he knows how men and women should be, which is why these things, like you said, the morally written in heart, we know this is masculine, this is feminine, because we've given a consciousness. We're aware of these things deep down, even if they try and hide it and manipulate people with lies and in the media, and they, educate people with the wrong things. The truth is always going to be there. It's always going to come out, and those things are set in stone. So if there is a creator and he's made us purposeful, that means that we all have special, unique skills, talents, and gifts that are inherent to us as men and unique to the ladies. And that's a wonderful thing. That means that there is a right way to live and there is a wrong way to live. That means that there is such a thing as masculine and there is such a thing as feminine. And it even says in the Bible, God despises effeminate men because you're not supposed to be. So I think in terms of righteousness, I would recommend anybody just pick up a Bible if you're interested. You can research the historical artifacts, you can research everything, because everything in this world at the end of the day, at this point, if you look at celebrities, you look at everything with symbology, it's all there in plain sight with God and the devil. You can look into it. I don't talk too much about God on my channel because I don't really like to force it on people, but no one forced it on me. It was my own free will, and I took it upon myself to research. And without God, you will ultimately be empty, because your primary purpose as anyone is to live according to how God wishes you to live. And if you follow him and love him first, then you will properly be able to love others. And if you're a man, you'll be able to bring out more of what makes you masculine, what makes you a man. And if you're a woman, you'll be able to be more feminine, because you're in tune to the blueprint and the framework that you are supposed to follow, because it's already written. You know, if I try and cut bits off my body and say I'm a woman, it's not going to make me a woman. It's not going to. I can think it, I can wish it, but it's not going to make me a woman. So as a man, I might as well accept that I'm different to women, and I might as well look at what makes me a man and then hold on to that, dig in and make that who I am and bring it out in every area. That's it. That's all it takes. And people can do what you want. There's 50 different versions of being a man. Go right ahead and do that and see how well it works out for you. Because at the end of the day, you're either a man or a woman. And if you want to be righteous, the most important thing is to look for truth. If somebody doesn't care about truth, then you're immoral. Because you have to be willing to go against your opinion. You have to be willing to say, you know what, subjectively, I may disagree, but let me look into it. Because a lot of people are conditioned to be intelligent enough to believe what they've been taught, but not intelligent enough to question it. You got to question everything. And within doing so, like you say, you start to uncover things, how deep it goes. This is right. This is wrong. This is good. This is bad. And I know a lot of people are starting to realize that everybody's almost been put under a spell. And there's things that have been covered from us, but there's nothing new under the sun. And one thing I will say, I have this saved on my phone, which I'll righty. So one thing I've saved on my phone, I have it set as a reminder. Every day at 1:30, I get a notification. This is why one of my favorite quotes of all time, and it's from the book of Galatians in the Bible, which talks a lot about righteous living. And so it's Galatians verse 5-22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Now, that's from Old English, from the King James Version. So long-suffering is patience. And obviously, meekness and temperance is humility and self-control. So you just think those qualities, it says there is nothing against that. Nothing can hold a candle to that. So I'll repeat that: love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, goodness, faith, humility, and self-control. If you live just those ways and you treat people that way and you operate that way, your morals should never be for sale, ever, ever. And to me, God is by far the most important aspect of my life. I wouldn't be who I am without God. And I know that without God, I'm nothing. And I would definitely add to that. One thing I know, at least from my own life, is you come to find out that since there is a creator, you're made by him. You're made by him and for him. And until you understand that, a lot of things in life won't make sense. Because God did make men and women for us, which is why when I see channels like feminism teaching men, women, that all men are the same, it's division. The Bible says any confusion, any division, anything that's not good does not come from God. Or you got like guys, unfortunately, that they've been through bad situations with women, they go MGTOW, and they want to say, well, women are the same. Well, that's also divided. You know, you can't have love without, if there's no unity, there's no love. And, you know, at the end of the day, men and women are made for each other and they do need one another. Societies, families depend on that. You know, societies are founded upon the familial bond between men and women. And that's really the most important thing. And a lot of guys, I think they're called by saying, well, I don't need a woman. I don't want to be with a woman. And a lot of women want to say the same thing. And hyper-dependence, I don't need anyone. That comes from trauma. Maybe you used to depend on someone very strongly in the past and they wronged you, and now you just push everyone away. But we do need others. Like with you, I need men like you. I need to be in contact with guys like you, because it helps you become a better person. Sharpening you. And that's so important. And yeah, I would definitely say for me, God is the most important thing. So, I mean, anytime you want to have a conversation about it, like in private or whatever.
Yeah. If you are in future, hopefully we can talk
more than happy to talk to you about that.
What I would add though is, what is truth if there is multiple truths? Like the word truth, you can't have just, you know what I mean? What does that word even mean if there is no one thing that it can be? Then it's no longer the truth. What is it? The truth is one thing. There's only one truth.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. And they've tricked you to make you think that there is whatever truth you want it to be. Ignorance is bliss. You whatever you want to be right is right. And that's not, you're no longer, like, people want to be their own gods. They don't want to hand over authority to something higher than them and sort of play off their rules. But you'll find
because they like living in their own way.
But what you'll find is those characteristics, those traits you described, if you do live by those traits, I promise you your life will be a lot more bright. You know, people that live by these lower values, they tend to live miserable lives, you know.
Yeah, and it's really important to always learn, but more importantly, you got to get to the source. The source of it at the core. It's like if you want to live if you're watching this and you think, well, there's no God, there's no creator, then your opinion is no more valid than some guy who kills children for fun. Because if there is no God, then who's right? The government? You think the government's trustworthy at this point? Any government, they're not trustworthy. So where do you get your righteousness from? I'll tell you where. You get it from yourself. You get it from your emotions. You get it from your lust. And this is why traditional values come from faith. It comes from God, who made men and women, and he actually created marriage as an institution for men and women to be united. They both come together, but it's heralded by God. And yeah, we live in a society that says, oh, people don't want that. Oh, because the government gets involved. You don't have to do it by the government. You do it to honor God and your partner. And people want to live by their own emotions. And that means that anybody, like you say, anyone can decide, oh, this is right, or this is wrong. And then what we have today is people get silenced because they speak out against things that are wrong, things that are immoral. Because immoral people are the ones in control. And for me, you know, all the laws that they can come out with, nothing. The only law that matters is God's law, what he says. It's like, you got to think of it as God is outside of time, space, and matter. He created the system. He's outside. It's like you turn the computer on and you have like artificial intelligence in your computer telling you how the computer should be designed. And it's like, wait a minute, mate. You're the created. I'm the creator. You have no say.
Right, got it.
You know, it's like if you design something, the design has no right to decide
Tell you
how it should be. You design. You have every right to do what the heck you want with it. So if you design something, you know how it works. You know what's best for it. And a lot of people, like you say, a lot of people don't want to give up their, it's almost like prideful, or pride is the downfall. That's probably the worst sin, because it leads to everything else. People think, well, I'm better than that, I can decide. Really? Because a lot of people that are deciding seem to be doing very badly. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Pretty much everything you said there. If I'm honest.
What do you think? Where do you think the world would be heading in the next 5 years?
It's very interesting. I think in the last 2 years, I'd say, there's been that kind of, you can't sit on the fence anymore. Like, you can't really sit on the fence.
Right.
There's kind of a point, especially obviously with, as we know, with the old the word that I probably shouldn't say because I probably do something to my channel, but where you kind of people kind of started to there was like two sides. Like some people just want to stay in the matrix and they're happy in the matrix, and others are like, right, I was kind of in the matrix, but now I kind of need to pick my side. And I'm one of those people that like went all in on like, yeah, this is all bullshit. Like I don't believe in any of it. Like you're all crazy. Like I don't want to be a part of this. And it sends you into this whole turmoil, like spiritual turmoil, because you just feel so alone because the whole world is marching to their graveyard. But what I would say, in the next 5 years, I think we would just see more of the same, but just more exaggerated, more that they will put their foot on the gas as far as it will go until the car smashes into a wall and kills and destroys and
like
explodes.
that analogy.
And you got a choice whether or not you want to jump out of that car, and you've only got so much time until it hits that wall. So I've already jumped out. I'm watching the car go. I'm like, see you later, guys. Like you should jump out, but time's running out. And sooner or later they're all going to be gone. But then once that car is smashed and everything's destroyed, then everyone that jumped out, they're the ones left, and we're the ones that are going to pick up the pieces, build a new car, and drive it where we want to go. So that's kind of how I think it is. I think at the end of the day, whatever's going on, these people are trying their hardest at this point to really lay all their cards out on the table. They're showing us their cards. They're like, it's their last ditch attempt at taking over what they have. So clearly something's going on where their time is running out. So it's only a matter of time until things start to change. And you just need to, like I said, you need to pick your side, live righteously, and you will be the ones who prosper in the future, I believe. If that makes sense.
It's very important. It's very important to be aware of everything going on around us, because it's the people that are in control. They don't want to give up their power. They don't, and they have a strong hold on everyone. I wouldn't even just say emotionally. At this point, it's literally spiritually speaking. I mean, I thought there was still quite a lot of people left that were intelligent. But I think what's happened since COVID is kind of proved otherwise. How many people will sell their principles for a sliver of freedom when the government has no right to give you freedom, because freedom comes from God. He's the one who gives us free will, not an institution. The institution is supposed to protect that against those who wish to take it away from us. Now, when it's the institutions that are ones that are taking it away from us, then I have a moral obligation to disobey. So I think you're going to see, like you said, they're going to try and put their foot down on the gas, but I think this is just going to cause more people to open their eyes. And it's like the movie with the ants. I think you saw that when you were kids. Like you didn't see that movie when it was like some Disney movie when we were kids, like with the ants. And one of the ants said, listen, if they figure out, there's like some bug said about the ants. If the ants figure out what we're doing to them, there's more of them than us. And really, the people are the majority, but they're not united. And people are given entertainment and cheap pleasures, and they're just distracted. And they think that's what they think life's all about. And then they wonder why they're so depressed. This is why we have so many men that are emasculated. Look at the suicide rate. I mean, have we, our grandparents and our great-grandparents, they fought in all of those, World War I or World War II. We haven't had a chance to go fight anywhere. So we really don't know how good we have it. Well, for now. And it's like being aware that things could always be worse. And people, they need to appreciate what they have. And not just that, but build up from where they're at right now. And commune with other like-minded people and surround themselves with people that are righteous, that are moral. Because that, like when it sharpens you, it holds you accountable. So when you find that you're falling away, you have a standard. You can look at that friend or that family member that's doing good that's leading their life, and you think, you know what, okay, there's no time to complain. I need to, you know what, they've inspired me to keep going. And so you help other people. And that's why it's so important, because when you are righteous, people should find no fault in you. People really shouldn't find a way. I mean, yeah, people can criticize you, people can say bad things about you, but at least you know everything they say about you is founded upon a lie, because you've done nothing but good to others. And it's so important to never cash out your values, never cash out your principles, ever. Because all it signals is to the people in power is, okay, we know we've got a few people that are weak. And then they'll come out with another test run or something else, and people will willingly give away more of their beloved freedom. But I think unless people actually are close to losing it, they won't value it. And you'll find this with most people that have, for example, had a near-death experience. They come out of that and they survive, and they tend to take good care of their health, better care of their relationships. They tend to want to grow more and learn more. And I think when things are quite soft and there's nothing to challenge you or put you on the edge of death, so to speak, it's so easy to just think, and just cruise along with your eyes closed. But, you know, you could wake up tomorrow and your life's gone. So it's so important to all the things we're talking about. It's about building a life that's honorable, because it's not even about you. It's about 100 years from now. Could your grandkids, your great grandkids say, you know what, granddad or great granddad was so awesome. All the things he taught our family, because your bloodline, you want to have a healthy, strong bloodline, a good legacy to leave behind? Or you want to look down and see your entire family is just cucked? That's horrible. And family really is the most important thing. And look, maybe you're watching this and you came from a broken home or dysfunctional home. Please believe me, your parents in that case did the best they could with what they had. But you have a chance to be different. You can break all those generational curses. You can put in the work to really bring out the best in you, so that you can be a better leader to, you know, the future woman and future children you have. So then they're better off than what you had. But you have the power to do that. And if we have men make a comeback in terms of masculinity and start rearing strong families, then there is definitely a chance that more people, as Ben said, will jump out of that car before it crashes. So yeah, I think that's what I have to say on that. But yeah, in regards to the whole topic talking about God, I would definitely recommend, if you want, we can have a chat. We can have a chat about Jesus Christ. We can have a chat about the Bible privately any other time. And yeah, definitely talk about that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think that was a very wholesome podcast, and we covered a lot of points. Yes. I think the message is kind of clear. It should be clear to people listening that this is just about doing what's right. You know, it's like although I don't know you or we don't know each other. Like, I don't know who you are, but for some reason we have come to the same conclusion. We have come to the same thing, and now we're almost identical in what is right. So this is what I'm saying about this is what we were saying about the truth being the truth. Is there is only one truth, and people start to recognize, like, there's a very small amount of people, because the truth has been hidden from us so much, that a very small amount of people, and everyone. The thing about truth as well is there's so much truth that some people are only halfway on the spectrum. So although they may agree with some things they're not quite. That's why I'm sitting here. I would honestly put myself below you, because you know more than me. You know more than me, and I'm here to learn, because I want to know. Like I'm on a quest for the truth. So that's what I'm saying is, if multiple people who don't know each other seem to be coming to the same conclusions, surely that's saying something about what this is. Like, this is what it truly is, right? Because it's not just something made up in our head that we think is right. No,
trust me, I'm still far off. There's still so much stuff that I look into that you have to take a break from, because it's very heavy, and I will definitely send you more of that. But what Ben was saying, I will definitely add to that. The reason why a lot of people don't want to look into things is because it's the way the system's created. It's built upon pride. You get your degree, you get your job, whatever it is that you do, and you think you're better than others. You think you're a know-it-all. So when someone comes to you and says, you need to look into this, you look at them and think, oh, they're beneath me. And you're no one to ever say, well, I'm better than that person, or they're scum, or they're worthless. Because a lot of people suffer from cognitive dissonance, which means when you're presented with different information, it contradicts your belief system. You don't want to let that go, because this is what happens. It's like telling a communist that communism is bad. They don't want to let that belief go, even though communism's killed just under 100 million people. So it's like when people are too far gone, it's they're completely disconnected from reality, which is why you can't really teach an old dog new tricks. This is why they work so hard on the next generation to brainwash them and lie and deceive them, to keep them suppressed. And that's why it's so important with what Ben was saying, the truth. There is only one truth. And even if that goes against your belief system, what your family, what your friends believe, or what you've been conditioned to think up until this point, you have to be willing to let that go. I had to do that, and it was hard to do, but it humbles you, because it's the only thing that matters is truth. If not, you're living a lie. Do you not? That's why it's so important, because when you understand the truth and you adhere your principles and your values according to what the truth says, then it's like, all right, I know, okay, I've got to follow what God says. That's it. It's in his hands. Then I can live righteously and honorably, and I don't have to worry about getting involved with the wrong people. It will be easier to avoid the wrong women, because when you become a masculine, traditional, moral man, you also attract and will know where to look for a woman with the same traits, and your life becomes better. But you've got to get to it. You've got to look into things. But again, with everything, you have free will, and it's up to you. It's up to you. So this conversation has been wonderful. It's been very educational. It's lovely to talk about these things, because I have so much respect for you, to see another young lad that's so smart, who I can see is a good heart, and you care about the truth. And yeah, that really makes me respect you. Even every time we speak, my respect for you just grows even more. And
I feel the same way.
I love doing these podcasts. I think there's a lot more we can talk about.
So much to talk about. I think there's so much we can talk about. The list is endless. So yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking again. But I'm the exact same with you. Your knowledge, for me, I feel like the student. I feel like you are giving me wisdom that, like, when I saw your channel, I was listening to you and I was like, wow, this guy really, really, like, he's really good. Like, his information is so well thought out. There's no ego in there. There's no hidden agenda. There's no, a lot of these things I watch, I noticed the faults in people's beliefs and how what they're saying is something to do with them. But with your stuff, it's coming from this, like, the righteous place, and that's why I
really talk about me on my videos, because I don't want it to be about me. I'm just an instrument to help people. That's it. So I keep myself very private. People know of me, but very few people know me. Obviously, I'm sure you'll get to know me in time, in private and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
But publicly, it's I just live by my morals that come from God, and that's really what I teach with my content. Even though a lot of people that have reached out to me, they pick up on that and say, where do you sound like you're a Christian, and because sometimes the only Bible that someone's ever going to read is you.
Right.
So I try and present that to the best of my ability, but I'm also learning, and within the context of truth, there's so many layers to peel back. But the good thing is, once you start, there's no going back. 100%. You can only go forward. And with that said, Ben, I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you all look forward to the next one. Thank you very much,
right.
Christian. Cool.
Chat to you soon, Ben.